Have you ever wondered why the people who rise to the top are rarely the most moral, the most honest, or the most selfless? It's because the world does not reward virtue, it rewards strategy. The first disturbing truth Machiavelli wanted you to see is this: people care more about appearances than reality. You could be the most capable, intelligent, even benevolent person alive, and none of it would matter if the perception you give off doesn't match the story others want to see. Perception is the real currency of power. Machiavelli understood that men are not driven by truth, but by illusion. If you seem strong, you are strong. If you appear generous, you are labeled generous, even if your motives are self-serving. The crowd will believe what flatters them, not what confronts them. The leader who survives is not the one who tells the truth, but the one who tells the lie they can live with. Understand this, and you stop wasting energy trying to be good. You start studying what people need to see in order to hand you power willingly. This is why rulers dress with intention, why CEOs rehearse charm, why tyrants smile on camera. The mask is not deception, it is survival. If the masses feel comforted, they will not question what lies beneath. And if you threaten that illusion, if you shatter the image, they will turn on you. Not because you've wronged them, but because you've exposed a truth they cannot bear. Most people do not want freedom, they want reassurance. They do not seek to be ruled wisely, they seek to be ruled comfortably. Machiavelli was hated because he dared to say it. The prince who maintains power is not necessarily just, but he is seen as just. The general who commands loyalty may be cruel in secret, but he appears noble. Appearance is armor, wear it well. Now here's the second truth, and it is far darker. Kindness without power is a weakness that invites predators. If you believe being good is enough to protect you, you are already marked. The world is not a playground, it is a battlefield with velvet curtains. Everyone smiles, nods, pretends, but beneath it, territory, resources, leverage. Your kindness, if offered freely, without discipline or calculation, makes you prey. Machiavelli knew that mercy was only useful when paired with the threat of cruelty. If you are always forgiving, always understanding, always available, then the people around you begin to see your compassion as a resource they can drain. They will test your boundaries, manipulate your empathy, and call you selfish the moment you finally say no. You want to be respected, then let them fear the consequences of taking advantage of you. Let them sense without words that your patience has limits, your silence has depth, and your goodwill is a choice, not an obligation. The dangerous man is not the one who lashes out, it's the one who can, but doesn't. Power is not in reacting, power is in restraint. Machiavelli wrote for the strategist, not the dreamer. He did not care if you wanted to be kind. He wanted you to be effective, to give without being emptied, to forgive without being exploited, to help without becoming their servant. Because the moment your goodness becomes predictable, it becomes worthless. Look around you. How many people are drained, anxious, overwhelmed, because they are too kind to say no, too afraid to disappoint, too eager to please? These people are not saints. They are prisoners in their own skin. And the predators, they circle like vultures, calling it love, calling it friendship, calling it family. But watch what happens the moment the kindness stops. The real nature of the bond is revealed. The illusion collapses. And that is why Machiavelli's truths are disturbing. Not because they are evil, but because they are honest. You want a safe life? Then stop trying to be liked by everyone. Start becoming useful to those who matter, and dangerous to those who think you are weak. It is far better to be feared than loved, he said, if you cannot be both. Not because fear is noble, but because fear is useful. Love fades, loyalty shifts, but fear anchors behavior. It limits betrayal, it buys time, it protects. If your presence holds no tension, no consequence, then your relationships are imbalanced from the start. They take, and you give. They expect, and you deliver. And each time, you disappear a little more, until there's nothing left to respect, only to consume. You think they'll value your consistency. They won't. They'll expect it. You think they'll praise your availability. No, they'll demand it. And when you finally burn out, they'll find someone else. So what's the antidote? Power. Not brute force, not arrogance, but control over your own energy, over your availability, over the image you project. You must learn to disappear strategically, to speak less, to observe more, to let silence say what words cannot. Machiavelli knew that the man who is silent controls the room, because silence forces the other side to reveal themselves. Your kindness should be offered, not spilled. Your presence should be earned, not assumed. You are not a resource, you are a sovereign. And this is just the beginning. These first two truths are enough to shift your view of the world forever if you let them. But there are 10 more. 10 darker, sharper, more revealing truths that will make you see every interaction, every betrayal, every victory through a new lens. If you have the stomach for it, then keep listening, because in the next part, we'll go deeper into the mind of the manipulator, into the anatomy of betrayal, into the exact mechanisms that turn loyalty into leverage. But remember this, the most dangerous truths are not the ones that destroy others. They are the ones that destroy your illusions. By now, you've started to see that the world does not reward innocence. It studies it, exploits it, and then discards it. So here's the third truth Machiavelli wanted you to know, and it's brutal. Your enemies are more honest than your friends. A man who opposes you must at least reveal himself. He declares his position. He sharpens his blade where you can see it. But the one who flatters you, the one who smiles too easily, agrees too quickly, comforts too frequently, that is the one who destroys you in silence. Because friendship is the most dangerous disguise for manipulation. Enemies make you alert, friends make you vulnerable, and the most dangerous betrayals come not from your opponents, but from your inner circle. Understand this, people wear masks, and those who claim to love you often love the version of you that benefits them. They love your help, not your hardship, your generosity, not your growth. And when you change, when you evolve, set boundaries, become less accessible, watch their tone shift. Watch their language darken. You've changed. No, you stopped being useful. That's what they mean. You stopped fitting into the role they had written for you in their mind. This is why Machiavelli warned, keep your friends for appearances, but never for security. Trust no one fully, not out of paranoia, but precision. Because the man who whispers loyalty in your ear may already be holding your secrets like daggers. You want to survive? Then test your circle, not with words, but with withdrawal. With silence, with distance. See who demands explanations. See who begins to twist the narrative. See who suddenly frames your independence as aggression. The real ones won't flinch. The users will rage, because their control depended on your compliance. And now that you've cut the strings, they panic. A true ally respects your absence. A false one interprets it as betrayal. Machiavelli understood this long before social media, and empty praise made people believe attention equals affection. It doesn't. Proximity does not mean loyalty. Volume does not mean value. Applause does not mean safety. Keep your eyes on behavior, not promises. Now the fourth truth, and it cuts even deeper. Most people do not want freedom, they want comfort. They claim they want truth, but they reject it when it threatens their identity. They say they value independence, but panic when left alone. They follow routines, ideologies, and masters, not because they believe in them, but because structure calms their fear of chaos. This is why revolutions fail, why democracies rot, why even in times of abundance, men crawl back to control. Because freedom demands responsibility, and most would rather be led than think, rather be ruled than risk. They want a cage with velvet bars and a kind warden, and if you dare show them the door to true freedom, they'll hate you for it. Because now they must choose, and choice terrifies the weak. You must understand this if you ever plan to lead. Do not appeal to what people should want. Appeal to what they do want. They do not want vision. They want reassurance. They do not want to be awakened. They want to be sedated. So give them symbols, give them rituals, give them illusions of choice while guiding them with a firm and invisible hand. This is how order is maintained. Not through truth, but through narrative. Not through empowerment, but through distraction. And if you insist on waking them, on tearing down the curtain, you will be crucified as a heretic, not praised as a liberator. Machiavelli understood, the prince who preserves order is worshipped, even if that order is built on shadows. This is why he urged rulers to create myths, to fabricate legends of unity and identity, because men will fight for a flag before they will fight for an idea. They will die for a symbol before they will die for a truth. So choose your symbols carefully. Choose your illusions wisely. You may not like this, but it works. That's the point. Morality without results is impotence. And the man who clings to abstract principles while his enemies sharpen their knives is not noble, he is suicidal. The world is not what it should be, it is what it is. And until you accept that, you remain food for those who already have. These two truths are devastating because they pull the mask off, not just others, but yourself. You start to see the lies you believed, the comfort you sought, the friends you never questioned. You start to see that safety is a seduction, and that betrayal often feels like love until it's too late. But if you have the discipline to keep listening, you'll see what most never see. You'll gain clarity, and with clarity, choice. And that's when everything changes. In the next part, we'll reveal two more truths: the real reason people obey, and why your weakness is never forgiven, only exploited. If this disturbed you, good, you're waking up. The world is not chaotic by accident. It is carefully organized by those who understand one thing above all. Obedience is not based on truth. It is based on fear. This is the fifth disturbing truth Machiavelli wanted you to understand. People do not obey because they respect you. They obey because they fear the consequence of disobedience. Remove that fear, and their loyalty dissolves. So stop believing you can earn control through kindness alone. It doesn't work. People don't follow goodness. They follow strength. And when strength is absent, so is obedience. This is why Machiavelli wrote that laws are nothing without the threat of punishment. That a prince must be prepared to act ruthlessly if needed. Not because cruelty is noble, but because mercy without force is meaningless. If people think they can defy you without repercussion, they will. If your words carry no weight, if your presence inspires no caution, they will take from you until nothing remains. And the cruelest part, they will justify it. They will call you weak. They will say you allowed it. Because the world does not protect the gentle. It punishes them for failing to protect themselves. You want authority, then stop asking for it. Command it, not with noise, not with rage, but with consequence. When someone crosses the line, let the price be felt. When boundaries are tested, enforce them without apology. Your power does not come from how loud you are. It comes from how far you're willing to go quietly. Be calm, be still, but let them know, whether through silence, distance, or removal, that disobedience has a cost. Fear is not evil, it is nature, and those who weaponize it responsibly rule. Those who reject it completely are ruled. Now let's confront the sixth truth, perhaps the one that stings the most. Weakness is never forgiven, only hidden, exploited, or mocked. You were told vulnerability is strength, but Machiavelli would laugh at that. In politics, in power, in survival, weakness is an open wound in shark-infested waters. It doesn't matter how noble your intent is. If you show weakness without strategy, if you break down publicly, beg, overshare, or plead, you invite predators, you hand over your center, and the worst part is, you'll believe they care. But they don't. They're collecting data, testing leverage, measuring how far you'll bend before you break. Never forget this. People don't tell you what they truly respect. They show you in how they treat those they think are weak. Look at who gets mocked behind closed doors. Look at who gets ignored, stepped over, passed by. It's not always the cruel or the evil. Often it's the kind, the soft-spoken, the forgiving. Because when your strength is invisible, people assume it doesn't exist. And when you allow others to drain you, emotionally, financially, mentally, they don't thank you. They grow contemptuous. They see you as a tool, not a person, as a resource, not a threat. So what's the cure? Stop bleeding in public. Hold your silence. Build in shadows. Be kind, but never at the expense of self-respect. You want to share your pain? Do it with someone who's earned access, not with everyone. Not with those who will wear your secrets like weapons. Be disciplined with your vulnerability. Power is not about being untouchable. It's about being unreadable. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Let them think twice. Because the man who cannot be figured out cannot be controlled. And in a world built on manipulation, that is real power. Machiavelli wasn't cruel. He was clear. He didn't hate people. He studied them. He understood that society rewards surface strength, that the facade of confidence often matters more than inner truth. And he saw that the world has little tolerance for those who collapse too easily. This doesn't mean you must become heartless. It means you must become sovereign. Give wisely, withhold tactically, and never assume that your pain earns you compassion. It earns you classification. as a victim. And victims are rarely feared. They are tolerated, pitied, or worst of all, ignored. These two truths are not about changing how you feel, they're about changing how you operate. Once you internalize them, you'll begin to move differently, speak less, defend less, react less. You'll no longer try to prove your goodness to those who only respect dominance. You'll start crafting your presence as something that cannot be used without permission. And slowly, you'll become untouchable. Not because you've become hard, but because you've become unreadable. That's where your advantage begins. The more you understand power, the quieter you become. Because here lies the seventh disturbing truth Machiavelli wanted you to grasp. Power is most effective when it is invisible. The most dangerous man in the room is not the one giving orders. It's the one watching, listening, and shaping outcomes without drawing attention. If you have to declare your authority, you've already lost it. Real influence doesn't need announcement. It moves beneath the surface. It guides others through suggestion, silence, and well-placed absence. It makes people believe they decided, when in fact, you decided for them. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers to conceal their true intentions. He understood that visible power creates resistance, but invisible power creates obedience without struggle. The puppet master is never on stage. He's behind the curtain, smiling as the audience cheers for the actors. So stop broadcasting your every move, stop explaining your plans, stop announcing your goals. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to undermine. Speak vaguely, act with clarity. Let others assume you are harmless while you position yourself in silence. The real king isn't always the one on the throne. It's the one who decides who sits there. Think of how influence works in your own life. The people who shape your decisions the most are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who planted a seed, asked a question, disappeared, and left you thinking it was your idea. That's power, that's control, and it terrifies people because it cannot be attacked directly. They can't fight what they can't see. They can't resist what they believe is their own thought. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The best ruler doesn't command, he manipulates the climate in which decisions are made. He creates the conditions where his outcome is the only logical one. No force, no push, just inevitability disguised as choice. Now, the eighth truth, one that will feel like a dagger if you've ever tried to lead with honesty. Being honest makes you predictable, and predictability is a vulnerability. The more people know how you think, the easier it is to trap you. The more transparent your emotions, your morals, your reactions, the easier it is to use them against you. Think of how many times someone has used your kindness, your loyalty, your honesty to twist you into guilt or compliance. This is the price of being readable. You become exploitable. You believe that honesty builds trust, and sometimes it does. But too often, it builds a roadmap. It shows people where to press, where to dig, where to hurt. That's why Machiavelli advised princes to appear virtuous, but never be bound by virtue. Give them the image they desire. Let them believe they know you, but protect the truth like a vault. Your inner world is not for public consumption. Your values, your limits, your fears, hide them. Not because you are deceitful, but because you are strategic. The honest man may win hearts, but the unreadable man wins wars. Control is not about domination, it's about mystery. The moment they believe they can predict you, they begin to control you. They anticipate your moves. They shape your choices by knowing what you'll never do. But when you become unpredictable, when you sometimes say no without explanation, when you retreat without warning, when you change direction with calm detachment, they lose that grip. They hesitate, they question, and that hesitation is where you gain advantage. Predictability is a leash, and every time you tell people who you are too quickly, you tighten it yourself. So speak carefully. Delay your reactions. Reveal nothing you're not ready to lose. Do not argue when silence will haunt them more. Let others assume, wonder, project, and while they're busy trying to understand you, you're already 10 moves ahead. Machiavelli didn't preach lies, he preached leverage. Your silence is leverage. Your unpredictability is armor. And your restraint, that's what separates the strategist from the servant. These truths are painful because they go against everything soft culture teaches you. Be open, be real, be vulnerable. But openness without control is exposure. Realness without strategy is recklessness. Vulnerability without discipline is suicide. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to command, and command begins when you stop giving people the tools to build your cage. By now, your vision is changing. What once looked like betrayal now looks like inevitability. What once felt like injustice now feels like consequence. That means you're ready for the ninth truth. Everyone is willing to betray you. It's just a matter of when and for what. Machiavelli never believed loyalty was eternal. He knew it was rented, conditional, tied not to who you are, but to how useful you remain. Even the most trusted allies will turn if the cost of staying loyal becomes greater than the reward. And the most dangerous part? They'll convince themselves it was necessary. They'll rewrite the story so that their betrayal feels righteous. Self-defense, justice, survival. Stop assuming anyone is incapable of turning on you. Your enemy already wants to see you fall. Your allies only need the right pressure. The man who truly understands power prepares for betrayal before it arrives. He watches for small signs, passive aggression, withdrawal, hesitation. He keeps leverage, keeps secrets, keeps distance. He gives trust in layers, not all at once. Because the fastest way to destroy yourself is to believe someone else never will. That belief, that desperate, comforting fantasy, is the exact blind spot manipulators seek. And when they strike, it won't be a surprise. It will be a correction to a mistake you refuse to admit, trusting too quickly, too deeply, without reserve. What do you do with this truth? You stop expecting eternal alliances. You begin cultivating strategic loyalty. You understand that relationships are fluid, and your position must always be negotiable. You become irreplaceable, not emotionally, but functionally. Make it harder to betray you than to stay with you. That's the game. That's how kings survive court, how founders survive corporations, how rulers survive revolutions. Never mistake loyalty for love. Love fades, need endures. Become needed, or prepare to be discarded. Now we arrive at the 10th truth, one of Machiavelli's most chilling insights. You are remembered not for your intentions, but for your results. The world does not care if you meant well, it only sees outcomes. You can be kind, brilliant, even revolutionary, but if you fail, you will be mocked, forgotten, erased. History does not praise those who tried, it immortalizes those who triumphed. This is why Machiavelli urged leaders to pursue effectiveness above all. Good intentions are a luxury for the powerless. For the powerful, only results matter. You've been told your heart is enough, that trying counts, that your effort is proof of worth. But in the brutal economy of reality, it isn't. You will be judged by what you build, what you protect, what you conquer, not what you almost did, not what you hoped for, not what you dreamt of late at night while the strong were acting. Because intent is invisible, results are legacy, and legacy is all that endures once your name leaves the room. So what does this mean for you? It means stop waiting to be understood. Stop explaining yourself. Stop defending your motives to people who only see failure as weakness. Let your success speak. Let your presence prove itself. And if you haven't succeeded yet, let your silence plant fear. Let them wonder what you're building behind closed doors. Let them feel your absence and start to imagine what it might mean. Because in this world, reputation is not just protection, it's preemptive power. If they think you always deliver, they'll flinch before they challenge you. But if they see inconsistency, hesitation, apology, they move in, they smell the blood. Machiavelli taught that a prince who cannot project stability, even when unstable, will lose the throne to someone who can. Appear strong when you are weak. Move quietly when you are planning. And when you act with clarity, with finality. The world forgives success, even if it's brutal, but it never forgives weakness, even when it's honest. You don't get extra credit for sincerity, you get measured by outcomes. These two truths kill the dream of the innocent. They shatter the idea that good people always win, but they also free you. They remove the illusion that you must be perfect or liked or pure to succeed. You don't. You must be effective. You must be calculated. You must play to win, not to be seen trying. That shift in mindset, that's when you become dangerous. The 11th disturbing truth is this: the higher you rise, the more alone you become. Power isolates, not because you want it to, but because it must. The man who rises above others begins to see what others cannot, and what he sees, they will not understand. Your discipline offends them. Your silence unnerves them. Your refusal to be manipulated will be called arrogance. Your presence will expose their weakness, and for that, they will resent you. Machiavelli knew that isolation was not a flaw of the powerful. It was a necessity. The more sovereign you become, the fewer people you can relate to. Not because you're better, but because you're awake. You no longer trade your peace for connection. You no longer participate in emotional theater. You no longer apologize for choosing clarity over comfort. And that makes people uncomfortable. They'll accuse you of being cold. You're not. You're focused. They'll say you've changed. You did. They'll call you heartless. But all you did was build a boundary they cannot breach. And when the crowd cannot reach you, it does what it always does. It tries to destroy what it doesn't understand. So you must prepare for this. Prepare for the weight of standing alone. Prepare for the silence that comes after elevation. Prepare for the moments when even those you once trusted look at you differently. Not with awe, but with suspicion. Because now you see too much. You've detached from the performance. And you've become something rare, something they cannot predict, control, or consume. Most men never reach this stage. They trade power for company. They shrink to fit their circle. But Machiavelli would tell you, better to walk alone with clarity than to sit surrounded by those who keep you small. And now, the 12th and final truth, the one most people will never accept. There are no rules, only consequences. Everything you've been taught, right, wrong, fair, unfair, was designed to control behavior, not reflect reality. In the real world, you can break every rule and still win if you're willing to pay the price. That's the part no one tells you. Rules are for the obedient. Outcomes are for the strategic. Morality is not a law, it's a story. And those who write the story shape the world. So stop asking if it's allowed. Ask if it's effective. Stop asking if it's fair. Ask if it works. Stop asking for permission. Start calculating risk. This does not mean become reckless. It means become aware. Understand the systems, see how they are built, see who benefits from your obedience, and then decide for yourself. If the consequence is worth it, move. If it isn't, don't. But never confuse social approval with truth. Never confuse rules with reality. The man who waits for approval dies in obscurity. The man who calculates consequence builds quietly and strikes when the time is right. That is the Machiavellian code. Not chaos, precision. Not destruction, design. You are not here to fit in. You are here to move differently. To think like the predator, not the prey. To understand human behavior without hating it. To use the game to your advantage without being used by it. These 12 truths aren't meant to make you cruel. They are meant to make you conscious. Because once you see clearly, you cannot be manipulated. Once you detach from the illusion, you become dangerous. And once you walk alone, you become untouchable. The world is not fair. People are not loyal. Power is not given. It is taken. Accept this and everything changes. Refuse it and you will suffer, wondering why your kindness was never enough. But if you choose this path, the path of awareness, control, and strategic detachment, then prepare to be doubted, prepare to be called names, prepare to be misunderstood, but also prepare to win, quietly, completely, permanently. If these truths resonated with you, it means you're already in motion. You're already stepping off the path they built for you. Now take the next step. Make it real. Don't just think like Machiavelli. Move like him, because power doesn't announce itself, it acts. And you were never meant to be average. You were meant to be feared, respected, and remembered. If you've made it this far, it's because a part of you has already crossed the line. A part of you has already realized that being liked by everyone means nothing if you have to betray your strength to do it. That real power begins the moment you stop explaining yourself. The moment you stop asking for permission to exist as you are. Now tell me in the comments, are you ready to be feared, doubted, even hated because you finally chose clarity over comfort? Are you willing to pay the price of becoming untouchable? If this message hit something real, if it made you think, write in the comments. I choose to move in silence. Let's see how many here are ready to step off the stage and into control. And don't forget, keep watching the next video. It matters more than you think. I'll see you there.